Hello and good afternoon. I hope everyone's fed and watered. The next session is one I've really been looking forward to. I'm joined by Calum, who's the Chief Customer Officer for British Airways, obviously a very iconic household brand. And Calum has worked in almost all departments, I think, in British Airways at some point. He's been cabin crew, has been in the call centre, so I think that is a genuine way to really understand the customer and has elevated all the way up to, running customer and marketing and comms. So I think that's a pretty unusual kind of path for many marketeers to go through. So really interested to hear the reflections that Calum will have had on being that close to the business and some of the insights that he's taken into setting the direction. Calum began in the call centre. He worked for many airlines. He's worked for Virgin, for Air New Zealand and Etihad, and has been in BA since April 2022.
You're making me sound really old.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry, but I'll be there with you because
Thank you.
It's my birthday today, so I feel very
happy
old.
birthday,
particularly.
Paul.
It happens but once a year, but it does happen. And Calum leads the airline's brand and marketing, customer care, cabin crew, onboard lounge and ground experience. So his reach goes across all of the customer touch points, which again means that we can have a very holistic conversation around marketing rather than just a conversation about advertising. So Calum, thank you for being here, firstly.
Thank you. I don't know, I mean, that introduction's weird, but thank you very much. You did make me sound really old, but it is true. Last year, at the grand old age of 45, to save you doing the maths, I'd done 30 years in aviation. So I started 9 weeks before my 16th birthday.
Experienced and lots of wisdom, I think is what we call that.
Oh, we'll go with that.
So I'm going to start, obviously Neil's, who you guys
Who's
work
staring
with,
me down?
who is somewhere in the audience. Yeah.
Right there.
Shared some of the great work that you've done in partnership with Uncommon, with the new kind of brand campaign. And everybody's going to know BA, and most people have got some kind of relationship with BA. How hard or easy is it to keep modernising the brand and to keep it kind of moving with the times when it's been around for such a long time?
Well, I mean, it's a challenge. I'm not going to lie, but it's one that I think we all do. And when I say all, I mean us, I mean Uncommon, I mean NGO&D are here too, and the BA team that are in the audience. It's one that we take really seriously. I mean, this is such an honour for me to be in this job. I pinch myself every morning. It's like, how did I end up here? And it comes with a weight of responsibility, a brand that is 105 years old, with an amazing history, an amazing legacy that we're hugely proud of, but one that a lot of people, not just Brits, feel an almost sense of ownership. Mm-hmm. So that comes with a sense of weight and responsibility and how we move this brand forward. And of course, we fly the flag, we proudly fly the flag for the UK. And we need to make sure, therefore, that we're modernising this brand and keeping up with modern Britain, but at the same time not moving ourselves away too much from where we were, making ourselves relevant to the modern consumer, making ourselves relevant in the modern marketplace. And we do that in a number of ways. We do it with how we develop our experience, through our colleagues, and even in our creative. If you saw the latest safety video that's out at the moment, and now Seema, our amazing colleague's now infamous wink when she tells little Sims to, kindly pay attention during the safety demo. When little Sims takes her headphone off her ear, is actually playing the Flower Duet, which has been part of the BA brand for about 4 decades now. So, we're recognising where we came from and trying to modernise forward.
Nice. I'd always love, whenever I fly across the world, I'd always love watching is kind of the best kind of video just before you plug in that I've ever seen on an airline.
It's very important to watch.
Congratulations for that. It's great content. And I think it shows you that every touch point is an important touch point with the customer to communicate.
Oh, completely. Particularly for a brand that lives and dies by its incredible colleagues. And we are so lucky to have 37,000 incredible colleagues across the globe. We have to make sure we showcase what they do brilliantly every day.
Nice. And I touched on at the beginning the fact that you have transversed many parts of BA, been in the call centre, no doubt having to deal with some of the challenging conversations, been in the cabin crew actually as one of those colleagues. So talk to us a little bit about how that has helped you understand the customer for the role you do today.
Well, it actually wasn't with BA. I've only been with BA for 2 years, but it has been aviation, as I said, in October it'll be 31 years. And, I am a brand guy at heart, but I actually started in a call centre when I was 15. And actually, when I was with P&G for 3 years, and I carried on flying as cabin crew at the weekends. I mean, it gives you, I've been really fortunate to do that. I've done every job in the front line of an aircraft or an airline, apart from fly or fix the plane, because no one wants me to do either of those things. But I've cleaned planes, loaded luggage, I've done it, and it gives you a unique insight into our customers' journey, what they're trying to, the steps they need to go through, but also crucially into what our colleagues do each and every day. And that, it means, I mean, if you ask the team that question, they're going to be like, he's done each one of our jobs. I think they think it's a nightmare because, I've been there and seen it, but it does give you a unique perspective, but one that you have to remember, you have to continue to refresh. And so every month you'll still find me on a check-in desk at Heathrow.
Really? Wow.
Yeah.
And is that a behaviour you encourage with all of your team to be very close?
It's a behaviour that's totally encouraged in British Airways, to be fair. It's something I've always done in other airlines, but it's something that we do as a leadership team and as a wider leadership team. We'll make sure that you are front and close and centre to our colleagues and our customers.
Great, that's so important. So Neil's unveiled some of the work that was done by Uncommon, and I'm sure everybody saw it. And I guess the interesting thing about it was there was no call to action, no website, no real obvious logo. Does that mean you feel so confident in your kind of brands that your brand assets are so distinctive that you no longer need to kind of have the logo in your advertising?
I don't think it's quite that. I mean, for anyone that hasn't seen, so we launched a British original. For anyone that saw Niels' presentation, we launched that at the end of 2022, and it's the latest evolution that was so proud. Again, one at Cannes 2 weeks ago was the Windows campaign, where they flipped what you would normally see. Normally, you would see the view outside the aircraft window, but what was tried to do with that campaign was to focus on the wonder and the amazement of the person inside looking out at that view. So that was the campaign. I mean, I'm not going to lie, when Uncommon brought that into me, I went, what? I mean, and when I say what, I said something a lot stronger, but we're in polite company. I mean, I'm literally eyeing them up here because they were all sitting there when you did it. And I think, it was something that you had to have a confidence in the experts. And, we talk about Uncommon, and it's really important. They have done incredible work. The BA team internally have done incredible work, both the marketing team and the corporate affairs and the internals comm team, that we have to partner alongside, or we won't get our message across, because this has to resonate so well with our internal audiences, what I always call the internal customer. But none of it would have happened without MGOMD and how they place the work. So for anyone that doesn't know, all but 2 of those executions of Windows featured our colleagues from around the business. So, everyone from cabin crew to people from finance and the head office pilots were in there. And, working to secure iconic sites like Piccadilly Circus is one thing that MGOMD did. When I told them that they then had to go and secure the site down the road from our call centre in Newcastle to make sure our colleague Helen, who was in it, was seen, is another one. And I think that kind of flexibility and creativity around that campaign is what really brought it to life. And in terms of the no brand thing, I mean, we tested it. I mean, I said, I won't generally stop anything except casting, which is our favourite word, because we have lots of discussion around casting to make sure that the entire colleague group is represented throughout the year, the different, people from around the world. But I would never stop something, so I simply said test it. And actually, the brand recall for that ad was 17 to 18 percentage points higher than the UK norm. So why would we not run with it?
Right. No, let the data tell the story. I'm hearing a lot in how you're articulating things, the importance of internal colleagues as well as the external facing marketing. So it sounds like even in your very clear consumer kind of driven marketing, there is always a thought about how you engage your existing kind of, your staff, your talent, and make sure that they're part of it. I mean, they feature quite heavily in a lot of your advertising.
Well, all our advertising, since I joined, we don't have actors playing our colleagues. Our colleagues play our colleagues in the roles that they do. And actually, they play extras and parts when they're not in uniform as well. So throughout the Christmas campaign, we had pilots walking through the airport as pilots, and we had pilots playing customers as well. And, as I said, we've got 37,000 incredible colleagues around the world. I think...
You've got a lot of talent already,
I think we can cast from them.
Great. So changing tack a little bit, Calum, when I speak to CMOs, there's always a topic around the speed with which marketing investment returns, and obviously there are challenging economic times. Given the large investment that you make in brand and customer experience and marketing, how do you kind of talk the love language with the CFO, so to speak. How do you make sure there's a strong relationship between marketing and finance?
I talk Spanish with him, not a love language.
Well, that is the language of love.
I don't know what Jose Antonio's love language is, and I have no intention of finding that out. But no, I actually am really lucky. Jose Antonio, CFO, Lisa, our Chief People and Comms Officer, Corporate Affairs Officer, and Sean, my boss, are incredibly supportive. We have this massive transformation plan that we're on at the moment, and what's important is they trust the teams to deliver, and they give us the investment. But you have to be able to back it up. If I think about all the investment that's gone in, not just behind the brands, but the sales campaigns that we're doing, and we have to see the effectiveness of those come through, but also in terms of the customer experience, multi-million-pound investment in lounges, the new short-haul interiors we've just launched, doubling the amount of in-flight entertainment content. They'll be very supportive when we come back and we show, like we've been lucky to be able to do, that these things are creating record-breaking customer satisfaction levels, which is what those things are delivering. So it goes back to what I said about testing. You have to be able to try, things, which when you're a global airline it can be quite difficult sometimes, but you have to be able to prove the investment's worth it. And when you prove yourselves, you continually get that support going forward. That's not to say there aren't debates and prioritisation, because that happens with all of us, particularly around budget times. But then you need to get creative and get uncommon to create little gifts that help you in your budgeting time. Which they did for us last week. Yeah.
So I'm hearing like experimenting within a framework, but also making sure the data is there to support.
Oh, you have to be able to prove it through. You have to be afraid not to try things. When we were doing things around the lounges, bringing that British Original platform to life, which is so important, because British Original is not just an advertising idea.
Right.
Neil's mentioned it, because we are weaving this through not only our people, but our experience, our end-to-end journey. Doing things like investment in food in lounges, if that doesn't have a tangible impact on the customer satisfaction, then we need to focus our investment somewhere else, because money is not limitless.
Right. No, I like that comparison between a big brand campaign and actually tweaking something in the lounge or on the aeroplane. Yeah. All of them are touch points at the end of the day.
It has to be a cohesive journey that involves our colleagues, that resonates with our customers and feels, unique to us as British Airways, and that's what we're trying to do.
Absolutely. You touched on the fact that you're on a transformation journey, which obviously many businesses are. Could you maybe give us a few kind of highlights around what the strategic pillars of that transformation are?
Yeah, so in the end of March, actually early March, we announced a £7 billion transformation plan that we've actually, kicked off, and that's a real transformation plan of over 600 initiatives, of which just under 200 sit within customer and brand.
Oh, wow.
So we're a large part of it. For the kind of overarching umbrellas that it sits behind are operational effectiveness and fleet reliability, modernising our, quite frankly, antiquated IT estate that we need to do, improving the customer experience, transforming the colleague experience, and creating a culture of sustainability that is believable and relevant to customers and colleagues alike. And that has been kind of the real focus and the journey that we've been on. And then if you turn that into what we're doing ourselves in customer and brand, we have 4 key transformation plans. Okay. We have one around transforming customer care, one about improving the customer experience, one about cabin crew, because we're lucky enough to have cabin crew in our team as well. That's 15,000 colleagues around the world, so we've got a lot of work to do there. But also, when I joined, we had what was called Brand Build Back, was one of the 4 transformation initiatives for us, and that was coming out of the pandemic as we kind of were fighting, as many travel and, hospitality brands were doing post-pandemic. And that's one thing that I kind of changed the title of this time last year to Brand Build Forward, because we want to be looking forward rather than back. Yeah. So that's really the focus, and that kind of that's about bringing British Original to life, not only through the comms, not only through the customer experience, but, my wrist is very heavy at the moment because we're one of the headline sponsors for BST at Hyde Park. When I arrived, the only sponsorship we really did was rugby, and we needed to diversify. As we diversify, our customer base diversifies, our customers' needs and expectations diversify. We need to diversify all our thinking to make sure the entire marketing, brand, customer, whatever you want to call it, portfolio pivots in that same direction.
Great. No, that's really interesting. You talked about, your words, the antiquated IT kind of background, and I'm sure all of us had challenges.
I'm sure we all have.
With the BA app at times, but...
Refresh.
How is technology kind of per se factoring into your marketing strategy, and particularly, I guess, given where we are in the world? AI,
yeah, I knew that was going to come up.
It's the drinking game where every time we say it, you have to take a shot of Casamigos or Don
Yeah.
Julio, who presented earlier.
Or I tell Niels that AI is replacing Uncommon. No, that's not going to happen. AI is fundamental for us. 43 million customers, over 270 aircraft, flying to over 200 global destinations across all the inhabited continents. We need a lot of automation. We need a lot of efficiency. Of course, AI is in that space. Examples include stand allocation at Heathrow, to minimise the amount of time you're on the ground so you can park as quickly as possible, through to what else have we launched recently? Coming out of the pandemic, we still have a problem with supply of parts, so we've put a lot of AI into that. So you're seeing that. But for us, AI, we're not using it as a solution looking for a problem. We're identifying what are those problems where we can utilise it in a way. But the other thing is we're not using it to replace the human touch. We're an airline, we're a human business, we're a people business, and so we're using it to complement the skills, to automate those mundane tasks, to do those sorts of things and use the kind of data intelligence and the speed it can give, but at the same time working with the incredible colleagues that I'm lucky enough to work with to kind of use it in a way that's right. And in terms of marketing, of course we're using it for things like video captions and things like that. Why wouldn't you? You'd rather focus your talent on creativity or planning or strategy or securing the right media spots for you. But, it does have a place and we're embracing it. But the airline industry is not an industry that's afraid of technological changes.
Of course not. No.
20 years ago, we used to carry
Yeah.
paper tickets. It all moved to e-tickets. There's fundamental changes and we're going to have to adapt to it without doubt.
Right. And I think you make a really great point that AI should be about a particular use case where there's a pain point or there's a problem that needs to be solved rather than just throwing kind of the next best startup at a solution. The most bullish, I guess, are seeing that AI can not just drive automation or faster production or speed to market, but it can potentially start to surface new insight that could create new creativity. Where do you stand on that? I know where Neil stands.
Yeah, I think we all know where he stands. We saw it. I'm going to say that British Original now it started with 512 executions. We're now over 900, and they have all been created by humans. They've all been placed by humans. So MGOMD have done that. They've come up with the ideas as well. So it has a place. We're using it in terms of social media marketing. So our latest the latest two campaigns that we've done around destination finder, based on your own personal, usage. And, what we're seeing is being able to personalize the ads using ALS techniques and things like that is making a real difference. We're seeing twice the amount of efficacy and engagement from those posts that we did with previous campaigns. So it has a place. But in terms of the creativity, I come back to what I said before. Marketing, brand, whatever, customer, whatever you want to call us, is a team made up of people. And if there's tools to help you get better, then why would you not embrace them? But at no point am I seeing creativity replaced. Or it's not just creativity, it's all the skills that sit with our marketing. The human touch being replaced purely by machines. I'm not in that place yet.
No, I think what I'm hearing you say, Calum, is there's always been tools and technologies that augment what we do, and this is just another one of those with some slightly kind of more intelligence behind it.
Machines not replacing people. I said it before, we're a people business, we're an airline with British Airways, we're proud of the colleagues that we've got, and how we can complement is important but not replace.
Right, absolutely. Just a reminder to those in the audience that if you want to ask a question, put it into the app, and I will have it up here on my Slido for a couple of questions' time, so please do interact. So the other question that I wanted to ask you, Calum, was, I guess, around the importance of sustainability in part of communication. Now, it's obviously always a little challenging in your industry because of the nature of what you do, but how do you think about sustainability or ESR as part of your kind of customer and consumer-facing communications?
Well, aviation as an industry is not one that can back down from the challenge of sustainability. No. We recognise the importance, and it's something that's hugely important to us at British Airways, not only the leadership team, but in the kind of wider brand perspective. We have been working very hard towards our goal of net zero by 2050, and we remain resolutely committed to that. As I said, it's one of the 5 fundamentals of our transformation plan. We launched a Better BA in 2021, which is focused around those sustainability pillars of, planet, people, responsible business. That's really key for us. We're introducing new generation aircraft. By the end of this year, we'll have 50 brand new fuel-efficient new generation aircraft by the end of this year. We're taking 14 this year alone. We've already taken 4, so 10 more to come. Okay. We have short, medium, long-term plans. We're one of the partners who's really pushing sustainable aviation fuel, SAF. Since 2022, we have had a supply of SAF, the first UK-produced SAF at Heathrow. Oh, really? And every British Airways flight departing from Heathrow departs with a small percentage of SAF on board. Right. The problem is production and availability. Okay. And so we're working with a lot of partners in the US and the UK to kind of drive that forward. We're also doing things like introducing platforms like Collaborate, which allow our corporate customers and our customers who are on board the aircraft to be able to address their emissions, and that's really important too. Great.
No, I mean, they are some great tangible examples, so thank you for sharing them. If there are any questions in the audience, just a reminder to ping them in to me. What are you most excited about when it comes to marketing going forward?
My new safety video. Christmas. I'm looking at the team there because those two are the things that... No, in terms of going forward, for me personally, I'll answer this one personally for me, it's continuing to push forward and be part of an amazing team that pushes forward this iconic brand, reflecting modern Britain, taking our responsibility seriously, but not taking ourselves too seriously at the meantime, pushing the boundaries of creativity, engaging our colleagues. And ultimately, as much as people do like to sometimes call us the colouring in department, not only are we making tangible differences to the customers and the colleague satisfaction, but we're bringing in those commercial results too, which I think is really important.
Nice, I like that. And I have to say, personally, I feel that BA feels more accessible and human than it has, as long as I can remember. So I think that's
we're on a journey to a better BA. It's most definitely a journey that we're on. And I hope people and our customers and our colleagues are seeing these tangible improvements along the way. Great.
So my final question, Calum, is that the theme of this whole conference is about being bold, and you've talked a lot about kind of different aspects of being bold. But what does that mean to you as a marketeer? Like, what kind of advice would you give to people around being bold? Because it can be like a throwaway thing, just like come up with a big idea or just go and do stuff. What does it mean to you?
I'm not sure why anyone wants advice from me, but I'll tell you what it means to me. It means two things to me. It means knowing your brand, being proud of your brand, being resolutely proud of what your brand stands for and pushing that forward always unashamedly, recognizing the environment that you're in, recognizing that I get, but standing true to who you are. For us, it's a British original. It's a platform that we've sprung everything off. That is really important from a brand perspective, but I cannot, and if I haven't mentioned it before, because it's the only time they're going to get praise from me, I cannot underestimate the talent of the team and bringing a team together. And when I say team, it's the P&G in me maybe, but that's the internal team in BA, as well as the corporate affairs team who manage our reputation, which is a key part of the brand that we often forget. Bringing our media agency partners, which is MGOND, bringing our creative partners, which is Uncommon, together, allowing everyone to have a voice. We would never have come up with that Sky VOD pause thing without MGOMD finding that idea and then Uncommon creating the creative. We'd never have done a Windows ad with half a logo had they not come in and said, we can make a difference for you. It's okay to have that kind of tension. Healthy tension is good. Yeah. Healthy challenge is good. Stop judging me. Healthy challenge is good. I keep telling them that. Healthy challenge is good. But it goes every single way. There is no such thing as a hierarchy. I don't operate my titles. I don't use my surname personally. I'm Calum, that's it. And I'm part of this team, and I'm proud to be part of this team that's pushing it forward. But that would be the one thing I say. Whether you're part of BA and the BA team, being a British original, just be yourself, bring your excellence, bring your creativity, and bring everything you've got behind you and fight forward for the brand that I hope you guys, like I do, proudly represent.
Thank you, Calum. The passion is very evident in how you deliver that.
I love my job. I'm really lucky.
That. And I think there's a really important message out there. We live in a complex world with many different kind of ways to crack marketing and many different tools and different teams and experts. And actually, there's a very good reminder there that part of it is about the humanity and part of it is about the orchestration and the connection, whether it's connecting comms for internal and external audiences or inspiring teams to work together around the same goal. I think part of where marketing sometimes comes unstuck is that isn't prioritized and actually things aren't joined up particularly well. But I really love the passion and the focus that you put on bringing the team together and encouraging the team to be bold and
No
kind
one
of
can
focus
ever
on the
do
customer.
anything alone, ever. So thank you.
Thank you.
Cheers.
Put your hands
Thank
together
you.
for Calum.
Thank you, mate.
Appreciate it.